Aliens are coming. Just kidding. Or am I? Pluto enters Aquarius on Saturday, January 20th, bringing economical, political, and social changes, new fuels and sources of power, and technological developments. Pluto will stay in Aquarius until September 1st, but then on November 19th will enter to stay until 2043. I'm here to tell you more and break it down for all 12 signs. My name is Anastasia. I'm a traditional Western astrologer specializing in natal, relationship, and predictive readings. If you like my work, please support me by leaving a like or a comment, subscribing, and pressing that notification bell. All of that encourages YouTube to show my content to more people, helps me grow. You also have the option of saying thank you by buying me a coffee. I really appreciate that. Before we dive in, a couple of announcements. Until the end of January, you can save on the year ahead readings. $20 of the in-person consultation or $40 of the recorded reading in the shop section of my website. Don't miss out. It's a great opportunity. Additionally, in the shop section of my website, you can find my 2024 planner, and you can currently save $5 with a coupon code HAPPY2024. All of that information is down there. The planner has 225 pages filled with astrological insights, journaling prompts, new and full moons, void of course moons, even includes best dates to get married, go on a date, start a business, or to lay low and chill. It's a perfect tool to maximize your year to come. So let's talk about Pluto in Aquarius. Pluto is the planet that rules deep change and transformation. It also rules power. It rules our subconscious and kind of darker feelings, our drives, motivations. Pluto tends to reveal the underbelly of things, whether it is your inner strength and your courage, or that is something that's been rotting that needs your attention. We did have Pluto in Aquarius. We had a preview, like a teaser trailer in 2023 between March 23rd and June 11th. So this is your guide mark, right? Take a look back to see what was happening in your life, especially when it comes to themes that I will be describing. I did make a video about Pluto and Aquarius last year, so you're more than welcome to check that out, to compare and contrast, to sort of see what kind of energies, or what the description of it is even more in depth. But we did have a preview, and this year Pluto enters Aquarius on January 20th, stays until September 1st, then returns to Capricorn for September 1st, November 19th stint, and then enters Aquarius on November 19th to stay until 2043. And then it will slowly fade in and out until 2024. So we are on the precipice of this really, really big transit, right? And this year in 2024, Pluto will move from 0 to 2 degrees Aquarius. So it will strongly affect people with placements between 0 and 2 degrees fixed signs: Aquarius, Leo, Taurus, and Scorpio. If you're one of them, let me know in the comments below. Let me know how it affected you last year. Have you even noticed that Pluto was in Aquarius? In general, Aquarius is the sign of progress. It's the sign of the mind. It's the sign of breaking from convention and bringing forth new rules, right? It's a Saturn-ruled sign. So I know modern astrologers assign Uranus to Aquarius, but traditional astrologers very much see Saturn as the ruler, because in Aquarius, Saturn is a young Saturn versus yin Saturn in Capricorn. Yin Saturn tends to grab onto power. It tends to stick to convention, tends to sort of do things the way they used to be. It's less active. Young Saturn in Aquarius is more about making the change happen, initiating progress, right? But like, if you know Aquarians, they often tend to be quite Saturnian, so very sort of idealistic and sort of stubborn in their beliefs. So Saturn has that rigidity to it. So like Aquarians are about progress, but a lot of times they sort of believe that their ideals are the right ones, and they can be quite like attached to the idea. So with Pluto being in Aquarius, we are likely to experience more focus on progress. We are likely to experience growth, right? In technology, in AI, in more use of drones, potentially using, like, because Pluto has that energy of like darkness and shadows and underworld, we can also potentially see drones being used as weapons, right? Or even like lasers being used as weapons, and countries sort of fighting for control over those things. We may also see some information warfare, right? Like or information getting controlled and people fighting for control over information, especially with the use of AI. What's going to happen with AI using the artwork of multiple artists, right? Changes. Pluto always brings up fears, I think. So like fears surrounding AI have already been present, so you can expect even more of that in 2024. We can expect even more developments, hopefully, positive developments of AI, where we get AI to help us do research that people wouldn't be able to do otherwise. We can expect for like fusion energy to continue to be developed. We can expect for new sources of fuel, new sources of power, to kind of keep blooming and growing. As stubborn as Aquarius can be, the goal a lot of times is to bring the world to a better place. However, the danger here is to get too caught up in the idea of perfection, or get too sort of lost in the arguments and conflicts and the images of the perfect future, and forget to be in the present. So I think those are some of the important sort of topics we will be facing. Aquarius being the sign of the mind, we will have to address the way we interact, right? We will have to face maybe some shadows of like detachment in relationships and in society, with COVID changing the landscape so significantly that most people are staying really close to their home bases, or staying really sort of within their group of people. We will have to also examine the shadows around there. What's interesting is, if we look back, right, last times Pluto was in Aquarius. So you can look back as far as 1532 until 1552. And that was the time of Copernican heliocentric revolution. Nicholas Copernicus wasn't the first one who said that it's not the world rotating around Earth, it's the Earth rotating and other planets rotating around the sun. But around this time in 1543, his work on the revolution of heavenly spheres was printed, which presented as a discussion of a heliocentric model of the universe in much the same way as Ptolemy in 2nd century has presented it. And it sort of stuck, right? That was the time when it stuck more. There were happening changes in European church. So Aquarius is, if Capricorn is holding on to power, Aquarius is about taking power away from people who are controlling it. And the famous sort of revolutions that happened with Pluto and Aquarius, and that is already jumping ahead to 1777 until 1798, were French and American Revolution. There was an industrial revolution. So Aquarius is a revolutionary. So do not take it to mean bloody revolution. Aquarius could maybe look at it and look for an opportunity to create a revolution of the mind, less so the bloody revolution. Hopefully, fingers crossed. In the 16th century, between 1532 and 1552, like I said, there was also changes in European church happening, because at the time church used to control who the monarch will marry. So there were like kind of movements to abolish that and take some power away from church, and they were successful. And there were, if we're talking about aliens are coming, right? Aliens are coming. They don't always come like in literal spaceships. There could just be influence of some alien new technology. AI is an alien species, right? So in 1549, Spanish ships landed in Japan, making it the first contact between Japan and Spain, when Spanish missionary Francis Xavier arrived to Japan. And he sort of he embarked on a major evangelizing project, as he founded the first Catholic colony in Japan. So having to deal with like alien technology, alien ways of being, and figuring out the boundaries around those things, figuring out the new rules, right? Questions of like connections and boundaries and perfect future are, I think, going to be brought up with Pluto in Aquarius. We will, of course, talk about it more as we continue experiencing Pluto in Aquarius, but this is quite significant. And like I said, 245 years ago, approximately, right? 246, between 1777 and 1798, there were those French and American revolutions. So people who were passing power through dynasties and kind of holding on to power ended up losing power. So that's quite significant for, I think, the chapter of history we're in, especially with people who have been too controlling as presidents or as leaders of the countries or even leaders of companies, right? You might see it, and please share if you do, but like I have an Aquarius rising client who mentioned that she discovered some shady things happening at the top of her company. So you might also see kind of like authority figures who have been in power for a really long time crumble and fall down. And what's interesting is Pluto in Aquarius will be opposing Pluto in Leo, and people born between 1940 and 1960, so baby boomers, are the ones who were born with Pluto in Leo. So Pluto in Aquarius opposing Pluto in Leo, or even in general, Pluto in Aquarius opposing people with Leo placements, will suggest a transformation of celebrity and power and stardom. And also some of these people needing to rethink how they approach their influence, right? Like, are they doing things and using their influence just for selfish purposes, or can they do something to help the world and influence the world? But I think we're already in it, right? The classic idea of like Hollywood star that everybody used to know and love, that potentially also started around this time in the past, is out, because we have TikTok celebrities, we have Instagram influencers, YouTubers. So like there is power to the people, and I think that will only continue to grow. So 246 years ago, between 1777 and 1798, we also had development of middle class, more sort of growth of democracy, industrial revolution. A lot of changes were happening in the US. Constitution was written, if I remember that correctly. Please correct me if that's wrong, but I believe so. When was it? Let me just look it up. US Constitution. Yeah, 1787, right? Drafted, signed on September 17th, 1787. And so Pluto was in Capricorn between 1777 and 1798. So the US has that energy within. And what's also interesting is that last time Uranus was also discovered. And, Aquarius gets connected to Uranus a lot. And they are connected because Uranus was discovered with Pluto being in Aquarius. But there is also that revolutionary energy. So let's talk about the signs and see what you might expect. I'm going to do a relatively fast rundown because I have done a rundown last year. But so, like I said, you are welcome to check out the last year's video. And if you'd like to know more about what this means for you, take advantage of my 2024 year ahead reading. Save $20 or save $40 on the recorded option. Link and coupon codes are down below. So if you are an Aries rising, Pluto is completing its journey through your 10th house and entering your 11th house. And you're going through this major shift when it comes to your public life. You have been potentially establishing yourself professionally. You may have reached certain heights. Maybe you've had to fall from the power, or you've dealt with some kind of important transformations when it comes to power and career. And so Pluto entering your 11th house will introduce new dreams, new relationships, new connections, right? An opportunity to show up in the world, to change the world. Like 11th house is very much the place of community, the place of other people. So you're becoming very other people oriented. You're becoming sort of more interested in transforming the world, transforming your community, and making work that I think is more like social and innovative and freeing in some ways. And your friendships, of course, can also change. Pluto in the 11th house can bring up any sort of difficulties that have been in friendships but haven't been expressed and addressed will likely come up. If you are a Taurus rising, Pluto is entering your 10th house. So since 2008, Pluto has been in your 9th house of travel, education, writing, publishing. So you could have been exploring different beliefs, different philosophies, different ways of being, right? And as Pluto is parking itself for the next 20 years, basically in your 10th house, you are getting ready to use that knowledge you have acquired to create professional transformation. Pluto is not always easy. It does make us face some challenges and difficulties. So watch out for doing things in shady and manipulative ways, because your ambition is likely to grow. Be careful of like dating bosses, because the shadows, like Pluto can reveal the secrets and air your dirty laundry, make it sort of visible for other people. But it will bring sort of this powerful desire to do work that is authentic, that is connected with you. You may experience work transformations, go through death and rebirth, become more powerful, start a business, launch a new project. The power you seek is more of the power behind the throne, because Pluto in the 10th is it's still very private. It's power hungry, but it's quite private. So you may have to find ways of getting control through sort of still being comfortable in your, like, wearing your cloak. Let me know how this resonates. How was this for you between March and June 2023? Did you feel any of these impulses bubbling to the surface potentially? Oops. Lots of sounds of my cups. For Gemini risings, Pluto is entering your 9th house. And if you are a Gemini rising, since 2008, Pluto has been in your 8th house, and you could have looked at your agreements with other people. Maybe you've looked for more freedom. You may have experienced transformation through death of people that are close to you. But chances are you've learned a lot. Chances are you've healed yourself. You've explored and understood human psyche and also your personal needs quite a lot. So with Pluto entering the 9th house, you are getting ready to show up as an influencer, as an educator, as a bright mind who is influencing and shaping and encouraging other people. So changes connected to education, whether that means you're going to school to build up your knowledge on the subject you're passionate about, or whether that means that you're getting ready to become an educator yourself. Changing your brand, changing what you're known for is likely, especially if your midheaven is also in the 9th house on Aquarius. You may be publishing your work. You may be starting to feel more comfortable about being visible and known for what you believe in. Because Pluto in the 8th is like in the darkness, and now Pluto will be in your 9th house, so it will be more sort of visible, even to a point that you no longer feel afraid when it comes to sharing your controversial opinions. Change may come through travel. Philosophical, religious transformations are quite likely, to a point that you may discover a new way of being, a new philosophy, and get really excited about it and sort of follow new visions. And major changes and transformations when it comes to foreign places, foreign lands, like, moving to a different place, becoming a citizen in a country that you've only been visiting, etc. Meeting people who are foreign and very influential is all likely. Trust that the answers will come, and make sure you're not getting overly attached to the outcomes throughout this process. For Cancer risings, Pluto is entering your 8th house. So Pluto has been in your 7th since 2008. Have you gone through big relationship changes since 2008? Some people may have gotten married. Some people may have gotten divorced. Some people had babies, right? There could have been a lot of different developments when it comes to your agreements, relationships, and partnerships. And so as Pluto transitions now into your 8th house, you are starting to examine shadows and fears around money and values and sharing, right? Like Pluto can introduce some kind of a need for raw honesty when it comes to, I make this much, you make this much, I expect you to do this, I expect you to do that. So really needing to be honest, be clear, talking through things, figuring out a way to have a more fair relationship. Sometimes Pluto in the 8th house could bring big changes to your partner's finances, for better or for worse. They lose their job and you have to be the one temporarily to take control, pay the bills, or they start making a lot more than you are making, and you are examining these dynamics that come when it comes to being dependent on somebody else. Pluto in the 8th can expose you to more mysteries, make you more interested in tarot, in astrology, to a point that you are taking it up as a business or a hobby, and you're starting to give readings to people, partnerships that transform your view of reality, and partnerships that offer more freedom, opportunities to pay off debts, opportunities to get an inheritance and transform your life through the resources of other people. For some people, it could even be getting access to somebody else's client base, for example, that then changes your professional life significantly. Just watch out for being too controlling or too fearful of letting go of control when it comes to money. For Leo risings, this is a huge transit, right? Pluto is going into your 7th house. It's a 20-year-long transit. It's an angular house. It's all about relationships and partnerships and business. Take a look back and let me know how this affected you between March and June 2023. Did you experience any sort of challenges in your partnerships? Pluto transiting the 7th house could bring up shadows, right? Pluto always brings up shadows. It could bring people into your life that are very Plutonian. So people who are obsessive, people who are controlling, people who are hard to figure out, somehow mysterious, people that you get obsessive about. So new encounters, new relationships. I think the more aware you are of your deep-seated need for intensity and passion and vulnerability, the more likely you are to meet people who will reflect that, versus if you are not quite aware of the energy you're projecting, you might attract people that are more complicated into your life. So like I said, addressing your own fears, addressing your own hang-ups when it comes to relationships. Do you feel like you're dating unavailable people, but are you available internally? Are you ready to let somebody in? Are you ready to commit in the way that a relationship will require? So deep transformations, moving for a relationship, meeting a partner, getting married, sort of going through very deep interpersonal growth and new beginnings, I think. But the more aware you are, the better. And maybe you can grow a lot at this time through therapy and even couples therapy and understanding yourself better. If you are a Virgo rising, Pluto is entering your 6th house for the next 20 years, right? And Pluto in the 6th house is significant for changing your routines, your health, and your everyday life. 6th house is health in a way of like things that befall you. So you may become really, really interested in health, whether that means because something happens, you know, you have to address your personal health issue, or something happens to a family member, or you just naturally find interest in a health topic. It's Aquarius, right? So doing some kind of like AI type healing, new technologies, new ways of like being present in your body, exploring mind-body connection, using new technologies. Likely work might transform to a point that you're no longer feeling comfortable being controlled by other people, and you're choosing to go in the direction of being entrepreneurial and having your own business. Transforming your habits, transforming your everyday life, like I said, once again, because you're discovering these new things and new interests. Doing work that is either like legal or healing. You know, Jupiter is in your 9th house until the end of May, and you are very much exploring different possibilities for yourself professionally. So I think Pluto in the 6th can really situate you in the world as a healer, as a person who transforms lives of other people. Please let me know how this resonates, and how was Pluto in Aquarius between March and June 2023. For my beautiful Libra risings, Pluto is entering your 5th house. 5th house is the place of romance, creativity, children, pleasure, play. So in terms of shadows that Pluto brings, right, you may have to examine your attachments. You might have to examine your fears in relationships. Where are you being too controlling? Where are you being too anxious? Where are you trying to hold on too tightly? And that could show up in relationships with romantic partners or children, right? Pluto in the 5th house has capability to really turn your relationship with your children upside down. Maybe they're growing up and you're starting to get afraid that your relationship will never be the same, or they're sort of flying away and you're starting to check their phones. So dealing with sort of fears and control issues over here is likely. On the positive, I think you crave that depth. You crave depth and fulfillment, and that can show up and come into your life through important relationships, through sexual awakening, through parenthood, becoming a parent. If that's something you've never seen before, Pluto will come into your 5th house and be like, how about that? So major developments, profound changes in your attitudes, and watch out for like Pluto in the 5th house to sort of make you lean too heavy into partying. Instead, direct this powerful energy towards creative fulfillment, spirituality, like I said, parenthood, and maybe safe exploration of your romantic interests. Now, if you are a Scorpio rising, Pluto is entering your 4th house of home, family, and living situation. Let's start with more difficult aspects. Pluto in the 4th house can bring up family skeletons from the closets. They can reveal closets you didn't even know existed and bring up secrets and shadows. Pluto, 4th house is the foundations of the family. It's the foundations of the home. So Pluto in the 4th house can reveal what has been broken or needs transformation, what is difficult, right? So difficult family dynamics, difficult sort of questions can come up, childhood wounds can come up, and Pluto will encourage you to look at them honestly. Sometimes you literally see, like, I don't know, pipes bursting, and like, imagine if it's like the toilet pipe bursting in the home and all of the like underworld, right, and shadowy things coming into your life. Moves are highly likely. I am a Libra rising, so I'm finishing this up with Pluto in Capricorn. I moved so many times until I finally settled in this place, and actually even the apartment before that when I lived in for a while, but like this place has been the longest, like close to 7 years at this point. But yeah, moving, changing your place of living. You're doing that because maybe something feels uncomfortable, right? Like Pluto in the 4th house, for people who are born with Pluto in the 4th house, sometimes you have to face these like uncomfortable dynamics in your home where you have a roommate and you feel like you don't like your roommate anymore, or you don't like your neighborhood anymore. So like there's changes to where you live. And family transformations, I know, I did a live with Rox before New Year's and people got scared that Pluto in the 4th means death for family members. And it could, if you have a family member who's 90 and most likely going to pass away in the next 20 years, right? No one's going to tell you like, no, they're going to live until the end of Pluto in Aquarius. So it could mean death. I've experienced death with Pluto in my 4th house, but I also had Saturn together at the same time with Pluto. So all of the deaths in my life, in my family, have occurred during that like 2.5-year period of Saturn co-present with Pluto. You're not getting Saturn co-present with Pluto. Saturn is out from Aquarius and not coming back for the next 29 years. So this is good news. You're not necessarily going to experience as dark of sort of transformations as Pluto might be. Of course, there's still, Pluto is still intense. So it's not going to be a walk in the park, but it's also not necessarily going to mean everybody you know and love passing away. So focus on, I think Pluto in the 4th very much builds up your confidence and your independence, and it's encouraging you to stand on your own 2 feet and to see the past and the past wounds as parts of your experience, not as defining experiences. Or like not as absolute, right? Let me know how this resonates. If you are a Sagittarius rising, Pluto is entering your 3rd house. And how interesting is that? Pluto in the 3rd will transform the way you communicate. So if you tend to communicate in a bit more like people-pleasing way, or you don't express things fully, Pluto will say, nah, you gotta speak up. So Pluto in the 3rd will encourage you to communicate your true thoughts and encourage you to communicate with passion. Here you're very much discovering what is worth talking about, what is worth writing about, what is worth blogging about. Changes in your everyday life, changes around self-expression, around writing, around blogging, around YouTubing. You may discover new skills and go all out, right? Learn about it, start influencing people's thoughts with it. Writing about your challenging experiences in life is quite likely here. The shadow side is, of course, dealing with like inner resistance potentially and trying to speak in a way that manipulates other people or that controls other people. So you will have to address that. Take a look back also at June 2023. Have you noticed any sort of increased intensity in your life? Changes in your neighborhood, changes in relationships with your siblings or in the lives of a sibling is also quite possible. And starting a business, starting sort of influencing your community, establishing a new role for yourself within a community is also likely. But very much like your mind and your words are transforming to become more authentic, intense, and truthful. You might become a journalist that exposes the shadows of the industry of some sort. If you are a Capricorn rising, congratulations. Pluto is almost out of your 1st house, except for September 1st until November 19th, and then bye-bye forever in your lifetime, basically. So Pluto has been in your 1st house. You've gone through a lot of inner transformations, growth experiences, experienced difficulties, experienced death and rebirth, right? Now Pluto is going in your 2nd house, getting ready to transform your confidence, getting ready to transform your values and your money. So Pluto in the 2nd house always wherever Pluto goes, there's always some shadows, right? So Pluto in the 2nd house will likely to make you more private when it comes to your resources. You may sort of have to deal with lack mentality, with fears around money, with fears around not having enough. If you use that energy wisely, those fears can become strategy. They can become a need to dig really deep to understand investments. You're maybe starting to invest money. You're maybe learning about stocks and bonds and debts and sort of paying off any debts, making major investments. Pluto makes one very intuitive, so following your intuition and investing into things that are very Aquarian, like technology, AI, green energy, new fuel, etc., could be highly beneficial for you at this time. Pluto in the second also brings transformations around money and values, so changing resources, changing jobs is highly likely in the next 20 years. But I think gaining confidence, gaining self-worth, gaining sort of like, you've been through a lot, so now you're ready to value yourself higher. And part of your financial abundance even comes from that, because at this point you are more in touch with yourself, right? You're more capable of coming to your boss and being like, hey, I deserve this much. A check right now. Please let me know how this resonates. How has Pluto in Capricorn been? How are you doing? How has Pluto in Aquarius between March and June 2023 been for you? I'd love to know. If you are an Aquarius rising, Pluto is entering your first house. Da-da-da-dum. Pluto has been in Capricorn, your 12th house, since 2008. You have done a lot of inner work. You have released a lot of unhealthy habits. You have sat with your feelings. You have cleansed your spiritual garbage, right? Now with Pluto in the first house, you're getting ready to clean your body. You're getting ready to connect with your true self. You're getting ready to release a version of yourself and to be reborn, right? So Pluto in the first can, of course, create, like, sort of make you face shadows where you are, you know, sort of being a little bit more controlling, or maybe being a little bit more fearful, and you're needing to address that. You're needing to address your own resistance, your own maybe like love for drama in some ways with Pluto in the first house, right? You're invited to embrace discomfort in order to create more comfort. So I know for one Aquarius rising client, she mentioned Pluto entering Aquarius in 2023 brought up some shadows in the workplace. So it can most definitely reveal everything that's outdated in your immediate environment, in your habits, in your style, in your body. It can bring up new interests that will slowly transform you internally, and then externally will show up as like a darker clothing palette or more tattoos, or some kind of like external changes are also likely. Finding inner power through difficulty is, I think, the pillars or the main sort of tagline of Pluto in the first house. So becoming more confident, becoming more clear on who you are, embracing kind of your inner strength, right? Like if you are facing challenges in the workplace or anywhere else, you will have no choice but to speak up, to express your true feelings, to, you know, to be truthful, and to express, I think, your courage, to express your bravery, and to own the changes that are happening in your life versus just let them happen. Let me know how this resonates. Please let me know, how has it been between March and June 2023? Have you noticed any of this already popping into your life? If you are a Pisces rising, Pluto is entering your 12th house. So for the next 20 years, Pluto will be in your 12th house. Pluto has been in your 11th house since 2008, and you could have dealt with some shadows in your friendships. You could have dealt with some shadows in your networks, maybe dealing with people who were like undermining you or harboring some resentment, etc. You may have transformed your role in the community, and your dreams have transformed significantly. And now with Pluto entering your 12th house, you are getting ready to find power through more inner transformation, more spiritual attunement. With Pluto in the 12th house, there might be certain bad habits that are coming to the forefront. Gambling addiction, sugar addiction, drinking, etc. Something that is hidden from the rest of the world, something that a lot of people don't fully know about you. Maybe something you don't even quite know fully about yourself. challenges, you know, can be coming up. Things that you have not addressed. 12th house is the blind spot. So many things can be hiding in a blind spot. It could be the fact that your childhood friend pulled a bike from under you when you fell down and grabbed it and rode off, right? Or anything, like something that's sort of hidden, past resentments, past wounds, past traumas, anything will be, all of that will sort of be coming to light. And as you work through it over the course of the next 20 years, you will get opportunities to heal, and you will potentially even become more interested in the 12th house sort of matters, spirituality, astrology, tarot, meditation, yoga. You may find like that your interest in those topics is growing and becoming stronger to a point that you may even find yourself becoming a spiritual leader or a healer or a guide for people going through difficult times. Your inner life will likely become more significant. So like, you know, you can expect deep dreams, you can expect to receive more sort of sign, to run into people who are more spiritual potentially, that will help you transform and grow and affect the world around you. 12th house also rules isolation and loneliness. So sometimes you have to address sort of fears around that, whether that means you are just sitting with your own feelings, or you're going through a difficult experience, or you're moving to a brand new country where you have to start again and face challenges and face some loneliness, because when you first move away somewhere, you don't know anyone and it's rather difficult. Let me know how this resonates. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching and supporting me. I hope your 2024 is off to a good start, and I'll talk to you very soon. Bye.